Guys, we all know that knives are just knives, but every once in a while you have a knife that you wind up with an emotional connection to because it reminds you of something from the past. This knife happens to remind me very much of my father, and it made it very difficult for me to stop carrying this knife. I absolutely fell in love with it. We're going to look at the Mumco design Kizer COMET. So guys, like I said in the intro, I had a real hard time keeping this knife out of my pocket for a long time. This is the Kizer COMET by Mumco Designs. And I have to say that the reason this stayed so tight, this reminds me of my childhood. This is an incredible little knife. You've got 154 cm blade that is done in a fashion that looks like the blade out of an old muskrat slip joint that my father always carried, which brought me back. Copper and black micarta. We're going to take a quick look at it, but first we're going to get some size comparisons because this is a great sized little knife. Well, I had to flip our size comparison format because the pocket clip on this won't let it lay flat. This is the CJRB RIA, which is another very small, very good gentleman's folder. You can see they're very similar in size. Your next knife for comparison is Benchmade 940, a knife that most of you should know as a size reference. You can see it's a good bit smaller than the 940. And your final knife, as always, is the Chris Reese Sebenza Large 21. You can see absolutely dwarfs this COMET. But this thing is an amazing little EDC carry. Let's get this out of the way and start talking about this knife. So since I forgot to do it, there's a spec sheet right here, and you can look at that. But this thing is a great little small gentleman's folder that has an outdoor style blade. Now, the nice thing about this is, like I said, it has a very slender 154 cm blade that is ground down to an edge that is still acute, but robust. It's a little bit thicker behind the edge than some of the other Kizers, but it transitions down really well and still cuts really well. You can see I've been doing some cutting with it. I've scratched the finish on it. The edge has held up. I have not had to resharpen this. The only thing I've had to do was touch it up on a strop and a ceramic rod a few times, and it's held up beautifully. It is just superbly comfortable in hand. This is a very good design for that. You've got a nice copper bolster on each side. Pivot collars are done in micarta, and the black micarta scales here. And they're done relatively smooth, but this contoured area here gives you a good bit of tactility and traction, even though it's not very large. And then you've got this really good flipper tab that turns into a finger guard and some really decent jimping on the spine. This has started to patina up a little bit. I did clean this up before we did the video because I wanted it to look good for the video, but this thing has carried super well. The action on it is just beautifully smooth. On a small knife like this, it is just shake shut home. It is just shy of being drop shut. I think if the blade had a little bit more weight to it, it would absolutely drop shut. Beautifully done liners on this that have had weight reduction on it, and they've been polished and married up with the micarta. And then this pocket clip is one of the best pocket clips I've had on a knife in a while. It's just about the right tension in pocket for all pants. It's fairly deep carry, so you can carry it in the forward part of the pocket and carry two knives. And it just pretty much on this knife disappears in hand. Now, this knife for me is about a 3.5 finger grip, but it doesn't feel small or inadequate in hand. And the blade shape on it allows you to a lot of pierce cutting if you're cutting into plastics and things like that. And it's got a lot of flat with a little bit of belly, which I have used for doing a few things. I trimmed the fat on a brisket. I trimmed some fat on a roast, and it works really well, which would be an outdoor application. These style blades have been really popular for fishermen and hunters and trappers because it allows you a lot of versatility to do things, and it's really easy to control at this size point. I've gotten to where I really like a lot of these smaller knives. So it has taken a long time for me to get around to doing the review because I absolutely love carrying this, and it does take me back to my childhood and remind me of a knife that my father carried a lot. He had a little Simmons double-ended. It basically was this blade on either end slip joint called a muskrat. So there's only a couple of small things on this knife. As always, I like to give you the good with the bad. I have to point out that there are some negatives. So let's flip this around and look at the negative stuff right after you guys hear from Coffee Brand Coffee. This video is sponsored.
No one likes to watch ads in the middle of a video. I don't like putting them in, but I do know that I gotta support what I do here. So I partnered with companies that I know I can trust. And today's sponsor is Coffee Brand Coffee. They're delivering quality coffee, freshly roasted on demand, ground to order and delivered to your door, and they're not doing anything political, so you don't have to worry about a company that you're supporting that is supporting causes that you might not agree with, because they don't support any causes. They just simply take the money and put it back into making a better product. So I would appreciate if you both support their new small business and my channel by checking out Coffee Brand Coffee and looking at their offerings. Use the link below and my coupon code Crazy Sharp on their website. It's Crazy Sharp, all one word, capital C, capital S. Let's get back to this.
Okay, there are only two real issues with the knife and then one little one. We'll start with just the aesthetic thing. You guys know I don't like lanyard holes. They could have easily just done a post here, like a lot of other knives where it's not there, but you still have an option for a lanyard. Now, there's two things that I really don't like about it, and that's that even though I said, yes, you have some good tactility here, this can be a little slick, especially if your hands are a little bit wet. This big flat area is a little slippery, and it just kind of feels slippery if your hands are wet. So I would have liked to have seen this roughed up a little bit more. You could always, if you have access to a sandblaster, you could take these off and blast these scales, and that would probably resolve a lot of that issue and just make it a little less slick. But here's the big one. This one, and I think this is just like, this is probably not the case with all of them, but this one came, let me zoom in, with a bit of a misgrind. So you can see right there how it's deeper on one side than the other. And that follows through on the entire blade all the way down. And you can see it transition into this swedge is ground differently from side to side. And the blade is, the edge grind on it is really asymmetrical because the entire blade is ground a little off center. So with that entire grind on one side being a little further over than the other, when they put this in the sharpening platen, the machine has a set angle. And so it's going to stay that same angle, and you're going to have some inconsistencies just because the blade is kind of out of sorts. That's something you really can't sharpen out. It didn't affect the performance of the knife, but it absolutely is something that might bother a couple people. And with it being like that, you can kind of see it favors one side a little bit more than the other because the blade is basically ground from the heel all the way to the tip, a little inconsistent. It's the first Kizer I've had come that way, and I'm going to say I think it's probably just an anomaly. I bet if I reached out to them, I could get them to replace it. But the fact is, I really do like the knife. I'm not going to try and get it sent back and replaced just because there's a minor grind issue. It really doesn't affect the overall performance of the knife. It's just a minor thing. But just one of those things, if you're that picky, that might be something you want to look at. Guys, that's all I've got on this. An all-around awesome little knife that I truly love. Great choice in gentleman's folder. There's a bunch of different options on this, materials and stuff like that. So I will have a link to this in the description below if you're interested in it. I'm going to turn this around and send you back out about your day.
So, like I said, absolutely love this knife. It took me back to a happy time, and I got to carry this knife, and I'm going to keep carrying it. There's no way I'm getting rid of this knife. I'm not going to send this back in. This is not going to be a giveaway. I absolutely have fallen in love with this knife and now have an emotional connection to it because every time I pick it up, I'm reminded of that little knife that my dad had. So it's not just the knife that is so good. There are things about some knives that just speak to you as a person. So I'm not going to get into it any further. I don't want to get emotional in this video. So I will tell you, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like it, give it a thumbs down. But tell me why I can't change that content. If you don't, tell me what you don't like. If you want to support the channel, like, share, subscribe, drop a comment, hit the bell icon. Interacting with videos is the best thing you can do. It pushes videos up the algorithm. But if you want to support the channel financially, there's a handful of ways. I have got a coffee sponsor. You heard me talk about it, but I also have got Tempered Trail, and both of those companies share a coupon code of Crazy Sharp, all one word, capital C, capital S, Crazy Sharp, saves you 5%. Coffee Brand Coffee, it's built into the link. Tempered Trail is a new company that's offering right now the best shoelaces you're going to find. It is a niche design kind of thing, but they are going to have more things on their website. Nathan is a great dude. You know him from Rat Bastard. He designed the Enigma multi-tool, so you're going to see more things on that website coming soon. Other way you can do it, I have an Amazon store down below. You can take that, pin it to your browser, use it for all your Amazon shopping. It doesn't cost you anything at checkout, but it supports the channel. I get a cut of it. Nothing comes out of your pocket. It comes out of Amazon's money. And the final way is I do have a membership. All of it is everyone, all the tiers get access to my Gilded server, which is just like Discord. Baseline and premium tier members are entered into giveaways I do on YouTube, and I give away stuff like this to those members. And the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series behind the paywall here on YouTube. So that's it on this one, guys. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comments section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. Don't forget about Father's Day. My father's passed. Make sure you appreciate yours while you have them. I will see you in the next video.